Raina Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Could I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there? Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain it what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it. Let's open up that race line! Woohoo!
Oh, I can't believe USC has hired Lincoln Riley. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rant Radio. This is the Carcast after that. Whatever that was. Yeah, this is the Carcast after that. USC beats Arizona, and I just totally screwed up the thingamabob, the score bug. Good job, me.
No, it's right.
No, it's not. It's got a SC twice.
Oh,
which maybe that's a certain kind of maybe there's some poetry there. The point is, SC wins 43 to 41.
This is very fitting for how ridiculous and stupid that game was, that we have a ridiculous and stupid graphic up on the screen right now.
Yeah, anyways, thanks for joining us here, either live on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, it's Rant Troy Radio as always. You can follow us on Twitter at Rant of Troy, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Rant of Troy, email address rantoftroy@fanside.com, phone number 818-643-7227. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joined along with my co-host here in the Rant of Troy studio, Alicia Artola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. There was a chat, a comment in the chats that SC wins maybe the ugliest USC win of all time. Yeah, I don't see how it's not that. And I think the hilarious part about this is that there were different phases of this game, Alicia. USC goes down 17-0. Oh, everything's horrible. Everything's bad. They claw back. And there was a moment in this game where I thought, if SC wins this game, pulling away, they put everything together, they win it like 45-20. We can get on here and be like, geez, that was a bad, first quarter, but like, look, they made adjustments. They fought through it. Like, onward and upward, whatever. They're 6-0. Here's Notre Dame next week. And, good on SC for having the bad quarter at the beginning rather than the end, because maybe it says something about whatever you wanted to say, something about, but that's not how the game ended.
No.
How
did the game end, Michael?
Okay, so let me try to summarize how this game ended if you're just joining us or if you did not watch the game. SC goes down 17-0. They claw back. First of all, the USC offense in this game, very bad, like not good. Not the USC offense you've all envisioned. The Trojans fight back. They go on a 28-3 run. They go up 28-20. Looks like they're going to be able to just roll through the end of the game, but they don't, because the defense does the thing after they have all the success in the middle quarters to turn the game around. They then give up the lead. It's 28-28. SC's offense has a very poorly timed 3-and-out. Arizona has a chance to come down and win the game, but SC stops them. Then they get their own chance after Arizona misses a field goal to come down. Horrible clock management for most of the drive, but Marshawn Lloyd, yes, has a long run to set up a 1st and goal. And at this point, there's 20 seconds left. SC fully in control. If you look at the win probability, it had to have been at 92%. And then after the Marshawn Lloyd run, there is a botched RPO to the left, in which Caleb pulls the ball at the mesh point and throws nearly a pick six.
I saw pick six the whole way.
Nearly a pick six. The next play is the botched mesh point fumble in the backfield on. It's at least a zone read. It might have had some sort of RPO elements. I don't know. It's at least a mesh point play where the ball hits the turf. Now SC has this weird thing where they're like running on the field to spike the ball before the field goal, even though they have a timeout. I don't know what they're doing. Like, just wait and take the timeout with a second left. Like, I don't know why there is this weird scramble. So Arizona tries to ice Dennis Lynch. They go on, bring on Dennis Lynch. Bad snap. No kick. We go to overtime. Overtime gets weird. You go to triple overtime where it's penalty shootouts on the 2-point conversions. SC draws up the most insane play you've ever seen in your life. Caleb Williams somehow scores. And then Arizona gets completely stuffed on their 2-point conversion attempt, in which SC had the best defensive play of the night. Saved it for the very last one. They get the stop and SC wins 6-0. The Trojans are bowl eligible, folks. They're bowl eligible. There you go.
Yeah, bowl eligible. A win is a win. Caleb Williams may have just won the Heisman with his worst performance of his career. Honestly, this was the stupidest thing I've ever seen USC do. I certainly have never seen USC have the ball in extra point range, field goal range, and have the sequence of plays that happened at the end of regulation happen the way that they happened, and somehow still not totally found a way to screw up the game and somehow get to overtime. And
they screwed up the game.
They screwed up the game.
Definitely screwed up the game.
But then somehow they didn't, because Caleb Williams is not human. He's a human cheat code, and managed to human cheat code their way to victory. I am very resistant to talking about team sports as one person carrying, one player carrying the team. But if ever there was a game where one player just was it was this game, because
But that's the irony, is that he did this in a game that, like you said, was his worst.
That's the thing is,
career.
That's the thing is, Caleb was bad and USC was bad, and then Caleb was sort of good on the plays that he was good, and that was enough to score 43 points and win the game, because Caleb was good on the 5 plays that resulted in touchdowns. Inexplicable what happened tonight. And also from both, there was something in the air at the Coliseum, because USC was incredibly sloppy from start to finish, top to bottom. But also ASU was
Arizona.
Not, I mean, I don't even know who. Some team on the other side of the field was also incredibly sloppy, and also made a million mistakes, and also almost won despite them, and also actively tried to give the game away at every opportunity, but also was making the plays that they needed to do to have the chance to win the game. But also, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this game?
I mean, first of all, it was like, I'm telling you, it was phases. At the beginning, I'm like, this is what is going on? Because Caleb Williams looks so out of sorts early on, and really, for most of the game, to be quite honest,
from a passing perspective, for sure.
Yeah, and just not there. The passing game was not there. So much of it was not there. The offensive line really struggled, and that kind of led to a lot of the issues. And so going down 17-0, big problem, obviously. But yet when they turned it around, I thought that, like I said, that this could be something where you could sort of come out of like, well, at least they pulled it together. Hey, the defense did put it all together, but then the falling apart at the end, the last drive was, first of all, if you had no connection to this game and you were just watching, like if this was Red River and you were watching it completely as a neutral, wouldn't you be like laughing your ass off at like how the game ended?
Absolutely.
It would be incredible. It'd be absolutely like incredible, riveting TV.
It would be like what everyone else was doing around the country, watching Mario Cristobal's Miami somehow find a way to lose to Georgia
Cristobal
Tech.
realizing for a second time in his life that you just take knees to win a game. Yeah. So, but yet, okay, I told you before we started recording that there would be a hot take, but I'm going to save that hot take for after the super chat that we got from Torin. Thank you for the super chat that says USC wins by at least 13. If you replace Cobb with Lee, I cannot figure out why he's allowed to start anymore.
Well, he's allowed to start because he makes the play on the final on the 2-point conversion to win the game, but the whole defense.
I think that the whole, so there were so many questionable personnel decisions, not only tonight, but like as a whole on defense. Absolutely, those are things that continue to be there. I don't necessarily disagree that SC would be better if Shane Lee played more and all those things. At the same time, I think if there's anything that you want to point to about starting at linebacker, I think it's Tackett Curtis, right? Like Tackett Curtis should not be getting as many reps as he is. Mason Cobb, for all of his faults, has had a lot of good moments the last 2 weeks. He's kind of been the quintessential player on this USC defense where he's right there at the highs and the lows simultaneously.
Well, that's Kalen Bullock too, and
right.
Bear Alexander and everybody. Yeah, it's
where like I not to pick on Tackett Curtis here, but like there aren't a lot of positive plays to point to with Tackett Curtis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like whereas you can point to the last play of the game with Mason Cobb, you can point to one of the other the near goal line stand that happened in the fourth quarter where Mason Cobb makes helps with Shane Lee to make a big stop. Like there were like moments there, and I don't know that there's any moments for Tackett Curtis.
Yeah.
But I told you before we started recording that there was going to be a hot take. The hot take here is I do not care about the defense tonight. I don't. The defense was not good. I'm not saying that they're good. I'm not saying that it's okay in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, SC needs a new defensive coordinator. We know this. We've talked about that at the end of the Tulane game. Yes, but also tonight's defensive performance is what the defense is, and in the grand scheme of things was not the worst defensive performance we've ever seen because Colorado existed.
Okay, I'm pushing back now. I've got it. I have to.
I'm not saying it was good. Hold on. I'm not saying it was good or anything, but like 28 points in regulation. That's what that's what this defense is. Why are we shocked that this is what the defense is? SC should win a game if their defense holds teams to 28 points in regulation. They should win each game comfortably. Like, yeah. Like it's not going to win you a national championship playing like this. Yeah. But like, it didn't need to. The reason SC was in this game was because of the offense, and I think we need to talk about the offense primarily today.
Yes, no, absolutely, 100% agree with you there. But like, let's not get it twisted. The defense is a D student that did put in another D performance, and we're not surprised because they're still a D student.
Right, but we know that they're a D student.
Also,
why are you mad about it at this point?
No, but also like make sure you also recognize at all times that this is, if you're saying like that the defense is not something that you really care about tonight, that's you saying I don't care that USC's defense
It's
is
apathetic.
a D student. It's
Sure.
it's apathy, but like don't let apathy get mixed in with like, oh, the defense wasn't also part of the problem, because if USC's offense is going to have a bad night, like every other offense in the country has occasionally, then sometimes you want your defense to not be to have a D level game. But every single player across the board on defense, regardless of what linebackers are in there, regardless of what safeties are in there, regardless of what corners are in there, regardless of what defensive front is in there, they remain at the same level, which is a D.
Right.
And that is that is very not good. That is very not acceptable. And once that's out of the way, we can sort of talk about how the reason this game was close is because the offense failed to live up to what we expect from the offense. But that doesn't, to me, excuse what continues. I'm not
excusing the defense.
Continues to be the ultimate reason why USC will lose games down the line. It continues to be because the defense is exactly what they are. And they are every single week. And
against the high-end opponents, absolutely. But if you lose to Arizona in this game, it's because of your offense.
Yes. Yeah. But it's because of your offense and your defense, because your defense sets you at a rate where you have to score 43 points in order to win.
Sure, because they're not going to, they're not going to be there to, pin a team down to 13 points to allow the bad offensive game.
The defense gets credit for winning the game for USC.
I don't think the defense gets credit for winning the game.
I just saw somebody in the chat say that Lincoln said that the defense gets credit for winning the game. Whatever. The defense. The defense.
Maybe because somebody has to get credit.
Well, because somebody.
There's no credit.
Caleb Williams gets credit for scoring stupid plays with his stupid feet.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, like, the defense is bad. Don't let the defense off the hook. The offense has huge red flags that I think are the bigger talking point coming out of this game.
Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. And those are huge red flags to me when an offensive line going against an Arizona defensive front that's fine, but far from the best defensive front that USC is going to be facing this year.
Right.
And they're getting pressure with the 3-man front.
Yeah.
They're literally in the backfield on every single play. It's like USC was running screens out there, except they weren't running screens. Like it was astonishingly bad from USC's offensive line in this game. And it really undercuts some criticisms that I have of, like, for instance, Caleb Williams, or more specifically like Lincoln Riley, in terms of the things that I want to see this offense do, like run the ball more. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to argue to run the ball more when every handoff includes an Arizona defender at the mesh point immedially. Like, it's really hard to push for that kind of thing. Now, I do think there were other things that Lincoln Riley could have done in this game to help deal with the fact that the offensive line was getting beat the way that they were. Namely, quick passing concepts. Mm-hmm. Don't expect Caleb Williams to sit back in a clean pocket for 5 seconds on every play.
Right.
Have some underneath option. And by the way, Caleb also, this falls on Caleb because there were underneath options that he simply wasn't taking.
He was missing them too. He was. Yeah. We saw it on, really early on, those first couple drives. He just missed guys that were wide open underneath. So I think a lot of the run pass breakdown is affected by what Caleb wants to do, because there are a lot of RPO plays. I honestly think we need to start counting the bubble screens on those RPOs as a run play. Essentially, they function as a run play, first and foremost. Secondly, it's Caleb deciding if it's going to be a run or not based on how the defense lines up, right? So like that could have been a run, etc. And the counterpoint to this is when you're struggling to throw the ball, yeah, maybe take the decision out of Caleb's hand and call the runs. Then I wonder, does he have the autonomy to check back into a pass anyways? I don't know. I don't know. Either way, we know that when he wants to take the ball in his hands and make a play, he will do that even on his off nights, which is incredible. Like you said, the fact that this was his worst game in an SC uniform, and yet he had a Heisman moment is, insane. Absolutely insane.
And this is one thing that I want to address because I'm seeing it in the chat. Number one, the idea that Riley just cares about padding Caleb's stats so he can win a Heisman, says Jules. And the other that I can't find it now, but somebody was saying that like Dylan Gabriel or Sam Hartman, which I feel like might be a troll, are more likely to win the Heisman after this game. Like, I think it's insane to suggest that Lincoln Riley is doing anything to pad stats to get Caleb Williams the Heisman.
Yeah.
This is a chicken egg situation, not even a chicken egg situation. People are seeing a result and thinking that USC got there for that reason, when in fact, Lincoln Riley has the reigning Heisman winner and the most likely player to win the Heisman this year, and is trying to let him cook because he does the crap that we saw him do in this game. Like, Caleb being as good as he is the reason why Lincoln forces everything through Caleb, because look what happens when you do that. Now, it's extremely frustrating at times because there's elements where if USC took the ball and let the running backs have more of a feature in this offense, let the offense be a little bit more balanced, not having to rely so much on Caleb, a night like this wouldn't have to happen because Caleb being off on his throws is not as devastating because your whole offense doesn't have to go through him. But at the same time, look at what Caleb did. Like, look at what Caleb did. If you come out of this thinking he hurt his Heisman chances, then I don't think you were watching the plays that very much did not harm his Heisman chances.
Right. The other thing is, what did we talk about all off season about statistics? He was due to have a much better year statistically because last year Caleb Williams was awesome and he should have won the Heisman, and full stop. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't have, but statistically speaking, in the normal stats, the regular stats, your passing yards, completion percentage, quarterback rating, touchdowns, all that stuff, with the exceptions of interceptions, his numbers were very much basically what Sam Darnold put up. Sam Darnold did not win a Heisman Trophy, right? Like, his stats now are more in line with what Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield did under Lincoln Riley several years ago. So, like, he is more doing what this offense is designed to do now, statistically, production wise. So yeah, I don't think it's about padding stats. I think that's just what this offense absolutely is. We did get a couple more super chats I want to get to here. Torrin says USC has an NIL deal with baby aspirin. 6-0 is 6-0. I mean, yeah, 6-0 bowl eligibility.
Hey, they're trying to give us all heart attacks, so we should all be taking baby aspirin at this point.
Yeah, baby aspirin a day will keep the heart doctor away. Yeah, absolutely. And then we got a super chat from Dan who says, "I don't have headphones, so I can't hear, but you all better sign up for DraftKings with code Reign of Troy." Dan, you're not working for us, but we'll take it because you guys need to sign up for DraftKings. Big Shill Dan here popping in the chat because if you sign up for DraftKings yet, there is a new offer where you can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. and you get a no sweat single game parlay every day with the code Reign of Troy. All you got to do, create an account, deposit, wager $5 on any sport. Whether your first wager wins or loses, you'll still receive the bonus bets. All you got to do is use the code Reign of Troy when you sign up. But the best part is that just like Dan is trying to support the pod, going to DraftKings and using our code helps support the podcast as well. This offer, of course, is available only for new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Alicia, where's USC going on the road next week?
They will be in Indiana.
Indiana. Which, how do you get to Indiana?
You take an airplane.
And you fly to what state?
You fly into Illinois.
Or what's the other one? Michigan.
Michigan. Yeah. Okay.
You know what all three of those have in common?
Legal gambling states?
Legal gambling states.
Ew.
So there you go. DraftKings. Use the code Reign of Troy. Check. Please gamble responsibly, of course, when you go to see USC and Notre Dame next week. But check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. We got more stuff in the chat here. And Cartum says, "What do you think of that stunt they used for the triple overtime shift on the line?"
I hated it. I thought it was terrible, and Caleb Williams bailed him out. That's what I thought. That's my take on that.
That is a play where you have to commit to scoring the touchdown. Like, obviously the play is designed to score the touchdown, but because if you don't, if SC loses and that's the play that they lose on, oh my God. The people are mad now, obviously, but if Clay Helton would have done that thing, I legitimately fear what would have the repercussions of people. It would have been horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joey in the chat says, somewhat positive question when you have the chance. What was your favorite moment? The Caleb spin, the spin and float quarterback sneak, or the Caleb do it myself 2-point conversion?
That the crazy thing is that the do it yourself 2-point conversion wasn't even his best damn play of the game. That spin out of the QB sneak with a dude on his back and literally just pure leg strength to drive him. Running backs aren't necessarily capable of doing that. For a quarterback to do that, to stretch out to the end zone, to have the audacity to even try to stay upright in that situation is outrageous. This man is not human. This man is not normal. And that play alone, both of those two plays alone are Heisman real plays. They're pure unicorn stuff. You do not see quarterbacks doing that. The second with the 2-point conversion is much more likely to be repeated by other quarterbacks. I have not seen a quarterback do what Caleb did on that play. It's wild.
Yeah, the only thing that I could think of was the Sam Darnold, his knee was almost down, 2-point conversion against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. Either one of those was great. His keeper in the first overtime, fantastic. And it's a hell of a testament to him that he can have those plays on a night when he couldn't hit Taj Washington wide open 4 yards away, right?
Poor Taj Washington. I don't think Taj Washington was doing anything different than he does than what he does in every other game.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb just was throwing to Taj Washington like he was a foot taller than he is.
Yeah, it was
weird.
It was absolutely a weird off night. Angelo in the chat says, "Hi, Reign of Troy. This is the most annoyed and frustrated I've felt after a win since 2017 Texas. What do you think?" I'm glad you brought this up because I was thinking about it. Not only was it another overtime game at the Coliseum, so the parallels are there, obviously. I was thinking back where I was thinking about it this week that, SC fans being frustrated after wins. And I remember how frustrated I was at the frustration of the Texas game because that was SC fresh off the Rose Bowl, right? That was like 3 games after the Rose Bowl. 2017, the season starts with it's the Western Michigan game, then Stanford, and then Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the angst that was there after that Texas game was basically the same kind of frustration that was after the Notre Dame game later on in the year, the big blowout that people wanted Helton gone and everything. Not quite the same, but I remember thinking like that Texas game was nuts, but like sometimes college football is just nuts and weird. Like enjoy like the wild ride of the final drive in which Darnold comes down and has the jump pass and all that stuff, and then McGrath hitting the 2 field goals, his first 2 makes ever. Like there were a lot of magical college football moments in that game that I thought that it wasn't worth being upset about, because SC hadn't earned the frustration, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight's not that way, where I think tonight absolutely you should be like you should not be frustrated. I think that this is a game where if you were a neutral, I think that this is hilarious and you're laughing at this, like how funny college football is, Pac-12 after dark, all those things. But like SC can have a clunker here and there. You can't have 3 clunkers in a row, right? Like it's not a clunker anymore. And tonight looked like it was going to be a clunker when they go down 17-0 and Caleb Williams can't hit the broadside of a barn early on in the game. But again, you can't call it a clunker when you've had the other games that SC has had. Like they haven't earned that leeway. And so the frustration absolutely makes a ton of sense.
As I've said a few times now, I think it's fair to call this an offensive clunker. I think this is an out of the usual. The only thing that sort of extends it outside of just being a 1-game clunker is that the fourth quarter against Colorado was very much of the same ilk. So in that sense, I think there's a little bit of extra worry because of the extension from last week, but it's an offensive clunker. Defensively, you can't call it a clunker because this is literally
this is what the defense is.
This is what the defense is.
Yeah.
So you sort of like the defense is a clunker, so that's sort of part of it. But I would agree with you that I came out of the 2017 overtime Texas game feeling great. Like I thought that was a great win for USC in a weird spot. I think this is more akin to the wins that USC had in like 2018. The I was looking back at the schedule, like that 3-game stretch against Washington State, Arizona, and Colorado, where USC wins a bunch of close games. I remember being at the Arizona game that year, the one that said "Where goes off in," and being in the press room away in that game, and just having people lighting up my phone on Twitter and everything, complaining about how terrible USC is and all of those kinds. So like, this has definitely been this feeling has definitely been around the USC program in recent years, but there has to be a level of here we go again in order to really get to the point that you're at right now, which is, like you said, the last 2 weeks bleeding into this week as
we were talking in the middle of the game where we're watching, like this is one of those moments where like for a lot of this game, if SC hits the field goal at the end, you take a deep breath and you're like, they got through it, whatever. And you can make the parallels to the Oregon State game last year. Yeah, I think it would have felt a lot like the Oregon State game, if anything.
But the difference,
the difference is that Oregon State has like a legitimately great defense that caused the offensive struggles. And while I think Arizona's offense is pretty good, especially with the receiver talent, they didn't have the defense that you would expect to keep SC in check this way. But also the difference is SC doesn't score at the end of regulation, and the game just ends up with a bunch of other weirdnesses to the point where it's like they didn't want to win that way either.
The biggest difference for me, and I think the biggest red flag that's waving over this win is that it really felt like Arizona blew it. And Arizona blew it in massive
They should have gone.
ways.
Fisch should have gone for 2.
I mean, even before,
Well,
even after you
but
account
it was both teams blowing it, right?
Yes, but even after you account for just the copious amount of penalties and stupid plays that Arizona was making, gifts to USC throughout.
Yeah.
When Arizona is gifted something back, which is USC screwing up the end and missing that field goal, they go into overtime, and to me, Jed Fisch lost the game when he didn't go for 2. Because I will go to my grave believing that if they had gone for 2, they convert and they win.
But also if they don't and they lose by not going for 2, is there a single person blaming Jed Fisch?
No, absolutely not. So,
especially when you look at what Arizona did the last 2 weeks, and this is one of the reasons why I think that we need to give a lot of credit to Arizona for being a good team, not for SC having the struggles that they did that were self-inflicted, which were plenty. But Arizona in the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, you would have said that SC and Washington are the best 2 teams on the West Coast, best 2 teams in the Pac-12, all those things. And Arizona went toe-to-toe with both of those teams, lost by 2 on the road, and lost by 7 at home, with a new quarterback making his first 2 starts. That is what you would hope if you were Utah. If you were anybody, you know what I mean? That's a big testament to all of that. But another super chat from Torin. Thank you, by the way.
Hey.
What's the record number of viewers for the Carcast? It was last week, the Colorado one.
So we have flirted with 500. I know that.
Active people all at once. I believe it was last week. Yeah.
Did we hit 500 last week?
Did we? We got close.
I know last year after the Utah loss, we definitely were up in that range. So we're close. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I'm now. Last week we peaked at 435. There's 443 on here, so there we go.
Biggest of the season.
New record.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Congratulations, everybody.
Congratulations.
You're part of a record record-breaking broadcast. Thank you guys. We couldn't do this without you.
All it took was a stupid game in overtime.
Yeah, that's all it was. All right. We got more questions to get to. So let's take a quick break and then get to those. I'm just gonna hit this drop for Dan.
Crushing disappointment?
Yeah. That way I'll know the commercial break is here, so that way when I'm editing this, it'll be great.
USC avoided crushing disappointment?
Yes.
By winning the game tonight.
With Marshawn Lloyd. There you go. Cool. All right. Thanks YouTube for joining us during this commercial break, but we're back.
You've got mail.
All right, let's open up some more mailbag stuff. Lamont says, this was the character game. To win that game, when this team is clearly off, should be a rallying call, but I feel like we will be without Gentry, Christian Rowland Wallace, Domani, and Zach next week. Can we survive it? I will say, we talk about the idea of clunkers and all those kind of things. I put this on Twitter. If SC goes out and beats your alma mater Notre Dame next week convincingly, whatever that means convincingly at that point, nobody cares about this week. Nobody cares about last week. Nobody cares about any of those things, because if you beat Notre Dame, you beat Utah, you beat Washington, you beat Oregon, nobody cares about any of these things. Would I predict that SC would do all those things? No. But if they do, nobody cares about this.
Yes, 100%. That's the thing. This game is full of red flags for why USC is in trouble in those games. But when it comes down to it, this game is irrelevant if USC wins those games. The first 6 weeks of the season are irrelevant if USC wins those games. The first 6 weeks of the season are only relevant if they were correctly waving the red flag for the coming 6-7 weeks, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Relic in the chat, another super chat. Thank you. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Relic. We missed it earlier. Our bad. We're here's looking out.
Yeah, Relic says, I've watched a lot of college football. I just want to say all college teams suck. They find unique ways to suck every week. Just embrace the suck. They're kids. I agree with this
100%.
like wholeheartedly, with the exception of Georgia.
And even Georgia
But
struggles.
even Georgia.
Yeah, even Georgia has their, last week against South Carolina, they certainly weren't themselves. I think there are only a handful of truly elite teams out there, and maybe not even a handful. Everyone else is extremely susceptible to massive problems. Like it all depends on what your problems are. For instance,
right.
Ohio State looks like a really flawed team because their offense is not nearly as good as they should be given the firepower that they have on offense, but they've got a good defense, which
they have a Maryland problem, yet they keep beating Maryland somehow.
Yeah, they keep surviving Maryland, which is why they're able to survive and advance. Surviving is key in college football. It's an underrated part of college football. Fresno State has looked outstanding for week after week after week after week getting ranked. Then they don't survive Wyoming. It happens. Washington State looks outstanding week after week after week after week. Then they don't survive UCLA. Notre Dame has been playing with fire. They lost to Ohio State, but still look like a strong team. They get beat by Louisville today.
Right.
It happens. Texas looked like one of the best teams in the country. Looked like they could compete in the SEC. Looked like they could be the number 1 ranked team in the country. Bam, they run into Oklahoma. It happens
unbelievably too. Like they just completely let Oklahoma.
Well, you want
that one.
You want to talk about like sloppy games that are inexplicably like, why are you trying to lose this game? Look no further than Texas. 3 turnovers in that game.
Oklahoma's the better team, and yet Texas had them.
Yeah,
and still let them off the hook.
Yeah. So I think that's a very, very strong point, Relic. The idea that everybody is everybody is sloppy, everybody's weird, everyone is dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds who are unreliable and have gaps all over their roster, all of that.
Yeah.
This is very, very true. Something good to keep in mind. But again, it comes back to, if you buckle down and take care of business against the big teams left on the schedule, then you will have made it through. And if not, you will fall into the category of the vast majority of the good teams in the country, which end up ranked somewhere between 10 and 25 and have 3 losses each and are sort of good but not great. And USC wants to be great, and that is the standard that we're sort of holding them to, I guess.
Yeah, and to go back to that Texas game we were talking about earlier, that was one of those moments where it was like, that was one of those like great college football moments where they pulled it out and had those kind of fun fluky things that go in your favor at the end. This wasn't, but like I said, I think the context is why you can be frustrated maybe at this one a little bit more than anything else, but still have some sort of understanding that everything in college football is weird. That we can sit here and say that Oregon and Washington look like the cream of the Pac-12, and that maybe SC isn't in that group anymore at this point. The metrics don't bear that out when you look at like Bill Connolly's stuff. The SP Plus has those 3 teams almost equal. Bill C was tweeting about it this week. So like, there's still a lot to play. This thing will be decided on the fields, and it might end up being decided on the field in the dumbest of ways, like tonight was. But that's college football for you.
The one thing I'll say is, it is uncanny the way that USC's defense can make every opponent that they play look the same on offense. From an ASU team that was an absolute wreck to in terms of injuries and scoring before, to a Colorado team with a lot of talent but uncertainty, to this Arizona team, they all look the same and do the same things, and there's potentially comfort in the consistency of that, because I think this is sort of what you were getting at, but like, if you can fit Notre Dame into that same bracket, then you can win that game.
Right.
If you can fit Washington and Oregon into that same bracket, then you can win that game. Like, it just really depends on figuring out if you can actually do that, instead of doing the exponential thing where Oregon is 10 times better than Arizona, thus Oregon will score 10 times more as many points as Arizona, and do that kind of thing. So I don't know. We got a question from Eric in the chat to address. You guys like the statement that all college teams suck. Are the critiques harsh just so they can be referenced when we lose a game? Sort of, and I told you back when we played. I told you back when we played so and so. Which is what I think Eric is asking there. I think the issue with the idea of like harsh critiques is that when USC is aspiring to like championship level, then our critiques have to be at a certain level where, yes, all college football teams suck, but USC wants to be one of the elite ones.
Right.
That sucks a whole lot less than the rest. and
like the way you're explaining this.
I mean that's sort of I'm trying.
No, yeah. I mean, you're right. Like, I think there's nuance to it, right? Because on the one hand, yeah, you want the standard if you are expecting to win national championships, and that's what you said the expectation should be, we should judge accordingly. At the same time, I'm a believer that those type of expectations also creates a binary, like, happy or sad thing about every single season that is based on, did you win championship? Yes. If so, happy. If not, sad.
Yeah.
And that, I think, sucks, because one of the great things about college football pre-playoff is that it's not just this binary where one team is happy and all other 130 teams are sad. Like, college football is great because a bunch of teams can be happy and they're fighting for different things, and people have different goals. Even teams that don't win, a conference title can feel good about the progress they're at, or whatever it is. There's different rubrics for every team. And when you put one rubric, which is, did you win a championship or not? Like, that's like one of the things I hate about pro sports is that there's only 30 teams, and if you're not the 30 team, the 1 in 30 that wins, then you hate life. And that's the misery that I don't want people to sort of subject themselves to. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be critical of where SC is, because those are the expectations, right? Like, it's just a little bit of nuance.
The other thing is too, so that nuance comes though from having your eyes open and sort of looking at the full spectrum of college football.
Right.
And what that does is it allows you to see, everybody makes these massive mistakes. Everyone else has these stupid games. Everyone else is on upset alert every other week. Everyone goes in at the half down or trailing to teams they shouldn't be. And the fact that they get out with wins is sort of what sets them apart from the ones that don't. That perspective is really important.
Mm-hmm.
What's working against USC, at least from my perspective, as somebody who is from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. or longer, if USC is playing longer, every Saturday, and watching a full spectrum of games, across the board, is that you also get the perspective of like what the good teams look like too, and what the elite teams look like too. And one of the things that I have a problem with this USC team is I have seen a lot of those other teams in their worst moments as well. I have seen them when they're on upset alert. I have seen them against the crappy team, or not crappy, but the big underdog, and having a bit of trouble in the first half. And I have also seen how they react to that and how they respond to that. And I think my biggest issue with this game in particular is that if it had just been as simple as USC had a terrible first quarter, went down 17-0, everything was bad. They were just sleepwalking into the game and were caught looking ahead at Notre Dame, and just had that happen, and then pulled for lack of a better comparison, like pulled a Pete Carroll where they flipped a switch and suddenly USC's back, they're on track, they're focused, they're ready to go, and they get away with it and move on to next week. The way that I have seen Michigan do, and the way that I've seen even like Ohio State do, and Georgia do, and the true contenders do that. USC very, very much did not do that in this game. Not only did they not flip the switch, pull in their focus, and get better, they had the same problems in the final 5 minutes of the game as they did in the first 5 minutes of the game. Actively made incredibly stupid mistakes to put the game in doubt, in jeopardy, when it should have been all wrapped up, and flirted so hard with losing the game that like it was beyond the point of just, oh, you had a rough day, and don't think too hard about it and just move on. You got the win is a win. It was the eye test that I am not seeing from USC right now. That is what is worrying me. The eye test is not being passed. And the eye test hasn't been passed for the defense the whole season, but in the last 5 quarters of play, the eye test on offense has also been very lacking.
And that's the thing I didn't expect, right? Because one of SC had, I was reading Bill Connolly's stuff a couple weeks ago, and it was about how USC has literally the most reliable offense in college football. Like, reliably, what this offense is going to be. Not only this version of it, but it was that way throughout, the Lincoln Riley era at Oklahoma. Like, they were what they were every single year. Go look at Baker Mayfield's stats, his last 2 seasons, and then compare them to Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. Like, they're almost identical. Each one gets a little bit better, but like they're almost identical, right? And so this offense is reliable. And yet, the last 5 quarters, SC has not been good on offense. And I don't understand how there was sort of a light switch that sort of flipped. Is it just the offensive line? Is it that simple?
Right? It's got to start. Well, okay, I think there are very valid criticisms of the wide receivers in
Zach
this game.
Branch isn't here. Like, is it the lack of?
It can't just be Zach Branch though. Like, if it really comes down to a true freshman wide receiver, the kid's
can't
special.
imagine
I'm not
that
arguing
that's
he's
it.
not, but it can't just be that. I think that you want to see more from your receivers in terms of getting open and giving Caleb good options on some of those plays. But to me, it really does come down to the offensive line. I think Caleb Williams, we don't see him having the game he had in this game from a passing perspective if the offensive line is giving him time to stand in and settle in and make his throws, and they weren't. And the running game could be much more dangerous and effective and helpful across the board for this offense if the offensive line was more consistent. But it was 100% the offensive line just getting beat left and right. And today was really the game where I really noticed the loss of someone like Gino Quinones. Because like Michael Tarquin was having a rough day. Emmanuel Pregnon was having a rough time of it.
Yeah.
And I don't think USC had somebody to plug in replacement. Jarrett Kingston especially was having a really, really rough time. And Quinones would have been the guy who was going to be able to come in and take his place for a drive or take his place for the rest of the game if he wasn't on it in the game. And USC doesn't have that guy. The depth on the offensive line is really, really an issue in that sense. When things are going wrong, there's not necessarily people you can turn to. And that just sort of sets the offense back across the board. I think what's even more concerning is that Arizona clearly had a game plan that knew how to beat USC's offensive line down to individual men. Like it couldn't have all been, obviously we haven't watched back the game, so it's hard to say, but it
Right.
couldn't have all been it couldn't all have been individual beats. Like it couldn't have just been physical beats.
Right.
They were timing the play. They were timing ways. They were sending delayed blitzes. They were doing all sorts of tactical things
Mhm.
that were getting one over on USC's offensive line, which is the last thing that you want to see, because the thing is USC has one of the best offensive coordinators in the country. USC is supposed to be able to win that game of wits,
Right.
and to lose it to Johnny Nansen of all people.
Well, that's what I was, yeah.
is a wild thing.
Johnny Nansen is not the guy I would think of when someone says, "Quick, name a good defensive coordinator." Johnny
Yeah.
Nansen isn't that guy. Not because I think ill of Johnny Nansen. He's just not one of those guys that comes to mind, right? Did get a comment from Jose in the chat that talked about how is it a bad offensive performance if they scored 43 points? They scored 43 points in a triple overtime game in which they scored 15 of those in overtime. They scored 28 points in regulation.
7 of those were off of a turnover. Well, not directly,
a short field,
but a short field from a turnover.
Yes, one of those other drives was extended multiple times
by bad penalties,
by really atrocious penalties from
stupid penalties from
Arizona. And to put it into context, SC's 28 points. I'm pulling up the thing.
Bailed out on 4th down twice from penalties, if I remember correctly.
The fewest that SC has had in a healthy Caleb Williams game since the Oregon State game last year, when they scored 17. Also, I want to talk about statistically how bad this offensive performance was. Third downs, SC was 3 of 9, 33%. This is 3 straight games where SC has been 33% or worse. If the Trojans if the Trojans' third down conversion rate was 33% for the season, they would rank 112th. That's not good. This offense is too good to be that bad on third down. I understand that the offense is at its best when they're cooking on first down and they're able to just roll. We saw that, early on against Stanford and Nevada, where they were just first down, and just going downhill in a hurry. But sometimes you're going to get the third down, and you got to be able to pick up those third downs. And SC just does not make it easy on themselves on third down. You look at yards per play. SC was at 6.1 yards per play. Well, what's the context of 6.1 yards per play? I'm pulling up last year's yards per play. It was the lowest since the Pac-12 championship game against Utah. If you take out that, last year they only had lower yards per play performances against Washington State and Oregon State. So this is as bad as the offense has been. They just were. The crazy thing is, again, they were that bad and Caleb Williams was able to still do superhuman things. Also, to their testament, they were that bad and SC turned the ball over one time with no interceptions.
Well, I mean, and this is what I'll say about the offense. The saving grace of the offense on a bad night like this is that they still do not commit a lot of turnovers. And we highlighted Texas as an example of a team that really shot themselves in the foot and gave away a very winnable game because they committed turnovers. You can't have 3 turnovers in a game and expect to win. And I think the thing that keeps USC in it is, even when they're playing as bad as they are, even when Caleb Williams is throwing the ball as bad as he is, he's still not making that kind of devastating mistake.
Yeah.
And that is a plus. That is something that will help keep USC afloat this year if they're going to have a chance to continue going. Like, if you're not going to be hitting your passes, at least don't give the ball away and give
Right.
the other team a short field.
Yeah.
It makes a difference. And in this game, it ultimately was the difference. Arizona had that set up USC in the short field with the turnover, and USC scored a touchdown, and it was in a close game that mattered.
Yeah, LFG in the chat says, simply put, the attempted rebuild of SC's 2023 offensive line failed. Losing the Florida inbound transfer first, then Quinones, kneecapped SC's hopes of fielding a decent O-line. I think that's an interesting point, because I think that, part of the thing about the transfer portal is that, yes, you can rebuild things pretty quickly, but Kentucky doesn't win a national championship every year in basketball, right? Because now the one and done rule, Kentucky has a new starting five every single year, right? And sometimes it just doesn't work. Like, sometimes it's just not going to work. I think this offensive line isn't terrible, because they have been able to run the ball a lot of times, not as reliably as they were earlier on at the very beginning of the season. But they are definitely not as good as they were last year, which is a problem, and it's going to be a hindrance against better teams, because Utah's front is very good. And honestly, the best defense I've seen all year, I think, might be UCLA. Their defense is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough to
Utah,
see how SC
UCLA
matches up against them.
are going to be interesting matchups for this offense when the offensive line is playing the way it is. But
Right.
I would agree that the offensive line is clearly not as good as it was last year.
Mhm.
Part of that was always going to be a tightrope that USC was walking because of the transfers, because transfers are not automatic hits. You're still looking at if you're 50% on your transfer hits, then you're feeling pretty good. And USC needed all of the transfers on the offensive line
to hit.
hit, because they had no depth on the offensive line to begin with, because the offensive line recruiting of the previous regime was really not up to snuff. So
yeah,
that was going to be the disadvantage the whole time coming into this, which is, but this is sort of why I'm a little bit frustrated with Lincoln Riley himself, because at a certain point, I want him to understand that he has the offensive line that he has in front of him,
Mhm.
and to work within the confines of what that offensive line is, and instill, maybe whether it's the play calling or whether it's instilling in Caleb a greater sense of this, to understand that you need to get the ball out fast. You need to be doing shorter passing concepts. You need to be, especially when USC has the athletes that they have. USC gets burned by the opposing team all the time, hitting underneath stuff and then breaking a tackle and breaking loose for big plays.
Mhm.
USC can do that. It's frustrating that they don't try to do that a little bit more often, considering what the offensive line looks like at times.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff in the chat says, give us an eyeball prediction. How many games does USC lose going forward? I say 2. By the way, Jeff, I'm pretty sure this is Jeff from Denmark. So God Morgan, that's what Google says is good morning in Danish. I think SC 6-0 on the easy part of the schedule. We talked about this all off season, the easy part, and then now's where push comes to shove. The 6-game gauntlet at the end. I predicted SC would go 10-2 before the season. You said 11-1. Are you holding by your prediction at this point?
I can't go 11-1 anymore.
Okay, where are you going?
I don't like that Oregon game at Autzen. I went 11-1 in part because I was optimistic that USC would be able to beat Oregon. I actually think this is a case of optimistic, Alicia. Well, it's not anymore. I was being optimistic about that game. Number one, USC has performed poorly enough on the road that I was already circling those road games as scary.
Yeah.
Number two, USC's defense allows too many explosive plays. I don't like the matchups against Notre Dame and Oregon. I very don't like the matchup against Washington at home now that I've seen USC play at home against Arizona and not come home and feel comfortable. So and I hate looking at Utah, to be fair. Utah. Cam Rising isn't back yet. I still don't know what to make of that Utah team, but they have a good defense, and USC makes bad offenses look good, so that's a worry. I think that I'm predicting at least 2 losses. I think I'm now trending a little bit more towards 9-3, to be honest. Pessimistic Alicia is out in full force.
Wow.
I'm feeling pessimistic after watching that performance.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can't. Like I've said, the eye test is not there.
Yeah.
So until the eye test turns, and USC has a couple weeks here where they have to do that in order to get out with wins. I have to be honest about Washington and Oregon are better teams than USC. They are more complete teams. They are more balanced teams. Those you have to pencil in as losses currently. Notre Dame is now a little bit more of a question mark to me because Notre Dame has looked so funky themselves.
This is the funny part. Because I was thinking about this today. Going into the game, I was like, I gotta be honest. Notre Dame does not nearly look as bad, as difficult as they did 3 weeks ago.
Oh, absolutely.
I wonder what that game is going to be like next week for them. At the same time, and then you compound that with Utah, who is not only always not even remotely close to being the same team away from Rice Eccles, but they don't have Cam Rising. Their offense looks absolutely atrocious, even though they have a fantastic defense. I was thinking about it, it sets up, well, if SC gets through Arizona, I think they can win the next few games and then go undefeated into November. And then tonight happened. And then I'm just like, well, if this is if the offense is capable of doing this again, then yeah, I think 9-3 is very much in play. If the offense is the same offense that played against Colorado for the first 3 quarters, the same offense that we saw against Stanford and against all those other teams, then I think SC still has a very solid chance to go 10-2 or 11-1. Because I know that all the pessimism on the defensive side of the ball, but I urge you to go back and look at the 2018 Oklahoma schedule. They literally won every game 55-50. Yeah. So I think if SC's capable of doing that on offense, but tonight really sort of damaged my view of that. So yeah, I'll hedge my bets and stick to sort of the 10-2 kind of thing.
My confidence before this game that USC could make it through 11-1 or 10-2 really hinged on, because USC will have a chance in all of those games because USC can score 50 in all of those games.
Right. I sort of took that for granted.
Yes. But also it's now 3 weeks in a row where we have come out of a USC game.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks, USC scored 42 and 48. And we said, it's crazy that USC can be playing really poorly and still score 42 points and 48 points. And the offense isn't even playing at a level that we expect them to play at. They're not hitting the heights that we expect them to hit at. And then USC goes home and the scoreboard says they scored 43 points, but in regulation, they scored 28.
Right.
And that is, USC really needs to hope that this was just their Oregon State from last year. They need to hope that this was just the weird game where Caleb was off and the offensive line was off and it was just a weird opponent and all of that kind of stuff. Because this is now 3 weeks in a row where the offense hasn't really looked.
Where the offense has at least had a bad quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tonight, I think they had a bad,
three
it was like 3 quarters at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 3 weeks in a row where they've at least had one bad quarter. And mind you, the reality is most teams have one bad quarter of offense at some point. Like that is the standard is so high for SC, but also when you have the defense that SC has, they need to sort of be perfect on offense. Luckily for the Trojans, they almost always are nearly perfect on offense.
Yeah.
But they aren't right now. They aren't. They certainly weren't against Arizona, which, doesn't bode well. But the other thing, like I said earlier, if SC goes and, drops 45 points in South Bend and does it, naturally and effectively and efficiently and all that stuff, then the concerns about the offense, I think, go away.
But this is the thing is like,
but you have to be able to do those things.
Louisville just put up 33 points on that Notre Dame defense.
Right.
So I thought that Notre Dame defense was going to be quite hard to break down.
Mm-hmm.
And we've now seen a team manage to break them down.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that this isn't arguably the toughest defense that USC has faced so far this year. But it gives me a little bit more hope that USC, if the offense is operating at the level that we expect of them, that the offense can score 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to score 40 points because right now I'm penciling in Notre Dame for at least 35, simply based on USC has a baseline of 28 points for every offense that they play. And Sam Hartman's a quarterback that can create explosive plays, and Esme is a running back who can create explosive plays. So I'm going to give them that nod of giving them at least one extra touchdown on top of that. So I have them scoring 35. USC has to score at least 35 points if they want to be involved in that game, and maybe even more. I don't know.
Here's how I look at it. Take the scorebook for the rest of the series, the rest of the season. Write 28 points next to every other team.
Yes.
Just write 28 points. Okay. You got a pen? You got it? Okay. Mm-hmm. It's there. All right.
Which is what Arizona scored in regulation as well, by the way.
Yes, which is why I said the thing about worse. This is what the defense is, right?
Yeah.
So take the 28 points. Now, would you consider this a good offense? Like the opponent that SC's playing, would you say they are a pretty good offense? If the answer is yes, add 7, 35 points. Okay, 35 points.
Yeah.
Now, would you say that this is an elite offense? Then write 42 points.
Yeah.
And then that's what SC has to go out and beat.
Yeah.
And so you should expect that you're going to need 45 points to beat Washington and Oregon. You should just expect that you're going to. When it comes to Notre Dame, I don't want to get ahead of, our Notre Dame preview that we're going to have later on this week. They're the number. I will do more research and sound more educated on Wednesday night when we preview the game. But just free balling at this moment right now, I don't know that I'm adding extra qualifiers for Notre Dame's offense, and I think they're at the 28 points. You look at the last 3 weeks.
They're at 30. I think they're at 35 because
look at the last 3 weeks.
When they're hitting, we'll get into this when we do that. But when they're hitting explosive plays, they are an explosive offense. And guess who's really good at giving up explosive plays?
Sure, that's valid. And Lamont says it doesn't matter, Michael, because Notre Dame will play like it's a national championship game next week. We get everyone's best shot. I agree. Also, it's in South Bend. SC never plays well in South Bend. Let's be honest. The flip side of this though is I don't know that part applies to Notre Dame, because yes, I think that everyone gives SC their best shot. Notre Dame's schedule is just so difficult that SC isn't an abnormally large opponent on their schedule. They played Ohio State 2 weeks ago, right? Like SC is not their singular Super Bowl in that way. But yes, the game's in South Bend. We'll talk about it next week, later on this week. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So
Yeah.
Anyways, Lamont also says it's clear to me that Rice, Washington, and Michael Jackson III are the best wide receivers, but why not give Deuce a shot as a bigger wide receiver to pair with Rice on the outside, since our smaller guys aren't doing much?
With Zachariah Branch out, I am a little bit surprised that USC wasn't digging a little bit deeper into the wide receiver group.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Kyron Hudson more.
Yeah,
He did catch the touchdown.
I have to admit, I am quite disappointed with Dorian Singer. He was also put in a bad spot because I don't know that Caleb was really giving him a chance on too many of those throws, but USC needs more from Dorian Singer in terms of availability. The way that Taj Washington makes himself available on plays. I think that, but at the same time, I think that the Brendan Rice, Mario Williams, and Taj Washington are a sufficient 3 for USC if Caleb is being given time to throw and find his receivers. So it sort of all comes back to that.
By the way, I'm looking at the do you have the stats in front of you?
The stat broadcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Go to a different tab or something.
Okay.
Hide it.
Oh, so I'm not supposed to look at it.
Don't look at this.
Okay.
Do not look. Okay, ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. They were so I did the math just right now. There's 27. Noah Fafita had 27 targets to wide receivers. 27 targets to wide receivers in this game.
Okay.
How many of those went to Cowing and McMillan? Of the 27.
I'm combining the total for Cowing and McMillan.
Yes.
25.
Exactly 25.
I didn't even cheat on that. That was just
13 targets for Cowing, 12 targets for McMillan. The only other wide receiver that got a target in this game for Arizona is Lamonius Craig, Lamonius Craig, formerly of Colorado, who got 2 targets. The only other players to get targets in Arizona's passing game were Coleman, the running back, McLaughlin, the tight end.
See, and that's why I'm not stressing the wide receivers all that much, because again, if it was just Taj Washington and Brendan Rice, that'd be totally fine if USC was able to have the offensive line settle and Caleb Williams settle, and the offense would be fine in terms of the passing game.
This is the weird thing too. I think we've been spoiled about how the offense has been in terms of the distribution and all those things, because only 6 receivers for SC caught passes today. 5 of them were wide receivers. Austin Jones caught a couple of passes. But 5 of them were wide receivers. But like SC has had games this year where there's been like 14 different receivers have caught passes. And when there's distribution like that, I've said that like it's hard to blame, say that Singer is, not performing up to snuff, because Mario Williams isn't exactly catching a bunch of balls either. Mario Williams had 2 catches tonight and 2 targets. And those Dorian Singer had 1 target and no catches.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like, I think Lamont's right that Rice, Taj, and Michael Jackson III look like the best wide receivers at the moment. Rice being wide receiver 1 is something that I would not have expected at all in the offseason, but such a testament to his development and how he's grown as a player, and that is a huge win for SC in the offensive side of things.
He's a huge threat for, like I said, Brendan Rice as the big deep threat, plus Taj Washington as the he's just gonna get open somewhere threat. Perfectly sufficient, as and then supplemented by Mario Williams and Kyron Hudson and Michael Jackson III and Dorian Singer and all that kind of stuff. Perfectly sufficient.
Yeah.
You need an offensive line who gives your quarterback time, and you need your quarterback to feel comfortable
Mhm.
enough to set and throw.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do not disagree at all. Andrew says, how much is Zachariah Branch missed?
I think
It's hard to say.
I think Zach Branch is missed considerably right now, specifically right now, because those quick passing concepts, those yak opportunities, I like the whole idea of yak and all of that kind of stuff. He was the primary guy that USC was targeting. They had specific plays that were designed to get the ball into Zachariah Branch's hands quickly at and near the line of scrimmage for him to then go off and run. And I don't think USC is running those same plays for other players, certainly not to the degree that they were with him. And you take that whole chunk of the playbook out of the game plan, and your offense is that much less balanced. So I would prefer if they just, instead of just Zachariah Branch is not here, so we're just not going to run those plays. I would prefer they found somebody else that they felt comfortable doing it to.
Right.
But right now it's very clear that when he's back in, we will see the return of a lot of those plays, and thus the offense will open up considerably. So it does feel like he's missing. Should that be the case? Should that be the way it is? I don't think so, but that is the way it is.
Because you think that Mario Williams should be able to step in there.
Why not step in with Mario Williams
Brown.
there? I mean, this is your opportunity to use Raleek in a game in a game or two if you trust him.
Right. Yeah. David says, who's the guy on the
or Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson the third is good at yak. It's not the same skill set, but
he returns punts.
Give him that opportunity.
Yeah. David says, who's the guy in the receiver core that you trust the most to win one-on-one jump balls? It's got to be Brendan Rice, right?
Brendan Rice.
Yeah. The other thing is, I don't think this offense is predicated on needing someone who wins one-on-one jump balls, because the whole guise of the offense is to get receivers in open space, right? That's the plan. We did see Rice go up and get one in this game. And yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm an NFL draft expert. Certainly not. But I feel like Rice is going to end up being like a first round talent.
He's got to get a look.
It's the size and speed combo that I think it like really could translate to the next level, more so than any of the other guys, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's really starting to come together. LFG in the chat earlier on said, nerd history note, one of the 2023 DBs coach for Arizona tonight, Dwayne Aquina, the DBs coach for Texas, in SC's national championship loss to Texas. Dun, dun, dun. Fun note indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always connections back to those things. It's weird how small of a world college football is, you know? It's like I learned this year that there's only been like 20 something thousand or maybe 30,000 baseball players in the history of MLB. And I feel like with coaches, there's probably only like 2,000 dudes to ever do it. There's certainly more, obviously, but like it feels like there might just be like a couple hundred dudes, and everyone knows someone at some point and has worked with somebody.
This is exactly the basis of the conversation you and I were having the other day about what's more difficult, the grind to be great or staying great. Like
it's
the reason the grind is more difficult, the grind to be great is more difficult, is exactly for that small sample size that you're talking about. There's only ever been 20,000 MLB players ever. Like, there are
and how many little leaguers have there been?
Millions? How many people have aspired to be an MLB player, let alone a great MLB player?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. All right, it's 1 a.m. I think we're gonna stop there. We good?
It's 1 a.m. We still got 400 people in the call.
All right.
So
Well, I mean, we can keep going.
yeah,
We keep going.
we appreciate you, robots.
Yeah. By the way, Torin, earlier on, we have a bunch of questions that we've started that we either haven't got to yet or whatnot. So I can run through those really quick. Torin says, "Hey, is the Rot Discord and the Rot YouTube membership a different membership? I need to be able to rant all week." It's the same thing. So the way it works, $4.99 gets you our YouTube membership, which includes the Discord. So you get access to our bonus content, which is the Thursday night Right After Dark show that we put together, and Discord for $4.99 a month. There's also there's a Rot support that's called the Rot Squad. There's also the Rot Supporters Club, which is basically like a tip jar that works as well. So, but that does not include Discord.
Yeah. So that's the difference. Is the Rot Supporters Club is basically just like just a tip, and
just the tip.
Just the tip. The Rot Squad. It's the Rot Squad, right?
Yes.
That is the tier you have to be on the Discord. That's the important thing to know.
Yeah.
The
Greg
Discord,
says,
which is certainly popping on game days.
I feel bad because when I am not at the game and I'm, we just cut cable, which is sort of sucky because watching games streaming, you're like a minute behind. And so sometimes I feel like I'm not as active in the Discord on game days because
you can get spoiled.
You get spoiled so easily over there because it's moving so quickly. There's so many people in the Discord that are posting. It's a really nice little fun community that we've been able to put together. And we enjoy it. We really enjoy it. All week there's conversations and stuff going on. You can add podcast questions and stuff too.
I am impressed with the number of people in the chat who are on East time. On
a lot
East
of
Coast
people
time,
saying keep going.
It is 4 a.m. for them.
Yeah. Matthew says keep going.
Y'all are grinding. We've got
Avlo says keep going.
Avlo is in Malaysia, so it's actually the evening or late afternoon for them. So
Jeff in Denmark says it's 10 a.m.
Yeah, so
champagne breakfast. 4 a.m. for Scots. Yeah, there are a lot of people on the East Coast as well. We're worldwide. All right, let's keep going. SC and Arizona. We're going to dig into the stats a little bit more. Talk about Marshawn Lloyd. 15 carries, 86 yards, a touchdown. What was your thoughts on his game tonight?
Release him, Carr. Just hand the ball off to him, please.
It's one way to put it.
Hand the ball off to him, please. I know that the offensive line is unreliable. I get it. But with an unreliable offensive line, dude still averaged 5.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Dude's still out there breaking off long runs. Just give him the ball. And give Austin Jones the ball too. Like I have nothing against Austin Jones. He's just not as exciting. He's still an effective running back. Like USC could be running the ball more than they are. USC should be running the ball more than they are. Marshawn Lloyd is outstanding. And if he gets stuffed on a play, don't abandon the run for the next two drives just because of one stuffed play.
Can I rant a little bit about my little complaint about the run game?
Yeah.
SC has done this twice in a row. They did it tonight and they did it against Colorado, where it's like they haven't necessarily run the ball much, but all of a sudden there's a moment where they decide to run.
They choose to run.
And it's run, big gain, run, big gain. That's when you should switch it up. But no, they run a third time and it's like loss of 6.
Yeah.
And I know this is just completely results biased, based on the outcome. It's like, but the point is, you don't have to get all of your runs in a certain set of number of plays.
Yeah.
Just run the ball when you think you should run the ball. I genuinely do wonder how much of the lack of running is because Caleb Williams' decision making. We know that a lot of it is RPOs and zone reads and those kind of things. But how much of it is he's being taught, hey, when the box count looks like this, pass. And so maybe you can sort of change those things a little bit to fudge them to encourage more running, design, like call straight up runs instead of plays that have options, take the options out of his hands, maybe a little bit more to run the ball. I don't know. I think there's absolutely ways to run the ball more effectively, or run the ball more often, especially when SC is so effective running the ball when they do it. We talked about it last year when back when Football Outsiders existed and we could pull up the line stats, things like opportunity rate and how great SC was in opportunity rate. SC was elite run blocking offensive line last year.
And it just feels it would make life easier for Caleb Williams because the other team would have to respect the run game if you committed to it occasionally.
Yeah.
I just really, really love watching Marshawn Lloyd run the ball. And it is very sad to me that he does not get the number of opportunities that he should. I also think that USC could probably use the running backs in the passing game more often. In this game, a screen or two would have really hit. A running back screen.
Yeah.
Would have really hit. And it just doesn't seem to be something that USC is interested in. So, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I think we should consider things like bubble screens, run plays.
Yeah.
Because those are essentially runs. They're just extended handoffs to the perimeter instead.
And a bubble screen or two might have been very effective in this game as well.
Yeah.
Or one of those tunnel screens. I don't know.
The play that they kept running last year, the little counter screen thing.
Yeah. Where's that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Definitely. Maybe there were a lot of time spent on the little swinging door 2-point conversion thing. I still can't believe it.
I still can't believe that's the kind of bullcrap you pull when you're doing an extra point or something like that.
I mean, it was a 2-point conversion. Yes, you save all the weirdo stuff for those moments.
I just don't know what that play was hoping to accomplish, short of backyard. Well, Caleb's gonna do something with it now.
I want a 30 for 30 just on that play. I need to know.
Was the intention to throw the ball? Was that ever the intention on that play?
Was it strictly to overload the defense so that way it's is the entire play designed where Caleb it's his decision to just whether or not he's just going to take 1-on-2 and just get to the end zone? I don't know. I don't know. Whatever it was, it did work. It did work. Yeah.
Lamont's wondering what Lloyd's final rushing stats were. He was 15 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah. Jeff in Denmark says, "Where's the dog? Where's Jessie?
She is currently on the floor here, and she needs to go out actually. So."
So, all right, we're gonna we'll go 5 more minutes, and then we gotta cut this short because of the pup here, and then we gotta get ready in the morning because it's the Qatar Grand Prix. Got to be super excited for that as well.
Yes.
All right, guys. Other things in the stat book to mention: Arizona 505 yards of total offense. Atrocious. They had 4 sacks. Tackles for loss. SC again with 9 tackles for loss because that's just what they do.
Arizona was 8 of 16. They had 16 third downs and converted half of them. In case you don't know, that's very bad. Giving up 50% third down conversions is very bad. They were 2 for 2 on 4th down. That's also very bad.
I just pulled up some tweets from the press conference. USC head coach, this is from Shotgun Spratley, USC head coach Lincoln Riley on the slow start, quote, wasn't anything very good. We didn't coach very good. We didn't execute very good. We kind of all took our turns, offense, defense, and special teams. Accurate. I think that sort of sums it up well. Chris Trevino dropped the little nugget that Mason Cobb said that his rib came out of place tonight.
I do not like that. That does not sound like a thing that's supposed to happen to a human body.
Shotgun says, I honestly don't know the science of how that works, but it doesn't sound pleasant. I don't. Yeah, that's not good. Not good. Here's a tweet from Justin Spears, who covers Arizona. Asked Jed Fisch if Noah Fifita's performance affects the plan at quarterback for Arizona. Fisch said no. Jaden DeLora is still the starter. The Wildcats are set to play Jaden DeLora's former team, Washington State, in Pullman next Saturday.
I thought Fifita was very poised.
How do you not go back to Fifita?
The thing about Fifita is he is a more limited passer than DeLora. But as we've said, DeLora is the ultimate hot or cold kind of guy. He's either lighting you up for 1 million yards and 1 million touchdowns, or he's throwing 1 million interceptions. So I do kind of feel like Arizona, in the long run, probably wins more games with Fifita. So
you just played, two of the best teams in the conference with a guy making his first 2 starts, and you lose by 7 at home, and then the other one you should have beaten on the road.
Yeah.
How do you not go just stick with the hot hand? I don't know. Joe Castillo in the chat says that this game felt like a damn loss. Spoken like my dad. I think my dad would say something like that. Honestly. Yeah. All right, y'all. We're gonna wrap it up there. The old pup has to go OUT, which means it's time for us to say the magic words and see her react, of course. So we'll be back Monday to talk more about USC and Arizona. Then we'll be back Wednesday to preview the USC Notre Dame game. The Trojans going on the road, of course, to a legal gambling state where you can use the DraftKings promotion. Bet 5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets and a no sweat single game parlay every day with code Reign of Troy. So you can go do that. And we will meet you back here Monday, talk more Arizona game. Wednesday to talk Notre Dame. Thursday, if you join us on the Rot Squad plus Discord for our Reign of Troy After Dark show. And then, of course, we'll be back next week with what we hope will break the record again for the biggest for the most viewership, USC and Notre Dame. Next Saturday should be nuts too, because it's Oregon, Washington. It's the lead-in.
Yes. As Third and Goal in the chat says, come on, people. Let's get the likes up to 100 at least.
Yes.
There are over 350 people here. Show them some love. Show us some love. Hit that like button.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button.
What are we sitting at? What's the I gotta go over to.
I do not know. I'm not over on
We're
YouTube
at 84 likes. If we get to 100, I will.
Don't be careful.
I'm not.
Be careful.
I will not do something that rhymes with custard. Custard. I would shoot custard.
Who's gonna make you the custard?
I don't know. But custard, I would shoot. So, get us to 100 likes, and we'll love you guys forever. But we gotta go. We got to put the DOGOUT. So we'll be back on Monday. Until then, the likes are up. They're up to 93. They're going up.
Hey, let's go.
It's almost there. Let's
go.
We'll see.
People keep suggesting that you do the Thanksgiving shake.
I'm not doing this Thanksgiving shake.
Even I wouldn't do the Thanksgiving shake.
We talked to our friend Kenny about it, and Kenny makes a great point. No normal person would eat the Thanksgiving shake. The whole thing that people like about, the food stuff is that I don't like this crap that you guys like. But the Thanksgiving shake isn't the same thing because nobody would like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah, so what we need Michael to like do a shot of like Thanksgiving like turkey gravy or something like that. Cuz he doesn't like gravy.
Yeah. Anyways, we're at 100. Cheers.
Hey, cheers.
And big ups to Max Verstappen, the greatest race car driver in the history of the world. So we will see you guys next time. Until then, Jesse, are you ready to pop up? Because see ya. See ya. She didn't do anything.
She's got her eye. She's just staring at me very
hates us.
blankly and very stilly.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.